All right, okay, hold on, hold your horses. I get it. I hear some of you in the comments are going to be like, but these aren't horror movies. No, they're not. But we are called Splattercast, and I'm just going to be honest here. Sometimes brutal action movies, some of these John Wick-like films, they can get just as gory and splattery as some of the goriest and splatteriest horror films. That's not a word. Good evening, campers, streamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to another recommendation list. Yes, this time doing a little bit of experimenting on the channel. We're not going to be talking about pure horror films here. Granted, these movies, like I said in the intro, are extremely violent, and I think definitely qualify as content we can cover on the channel. And in general, I get a lot of comments from you guys just saying, hey, we want to hear your thoughts on other movies that aren't just horror, so I figured I'd spruce these in every once in a while. So if you like blood, guts, and all that gooey, icky, sticky stuff, then please stick around, watch this video. I think you guys are really going to enjoy some of these picks. I know I am excited to talk about them. And if you are new here and you're just stumbling across this video, hey, how's it going? I'm Dylan, and thanks for checking out the channel. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you like it and we can earn it, I hope that we will get you to like this video as well as hit that subscribe button. It would certainly mean the world to me. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you as always, and let's hop into this list. And kicking things off at my number 5 slot, we have 2022's SISU. When an ex-soldier who discovers gold in the Lapland wilderness tries to take the loot into the city, German soldiers, led by a brutal SS officer, battle him for it. Man, if you go back to probably, I don't know, maybe the first 6 months of this channel in 2022, we actually got to cover SISU. It was one of, I gotta say, the first 5 screeners we ever got access to, and that was truly a surreal experience, because this movie, of course, not a horror film, but was kind of our tipping point to say, this is super cool, I really want to cover this, this is a fun opportunity. But this movie's also got so much splatter, gore, awesomeness that it certainly has to qualify somewhere. And yeah, SISU is a badass movie. And if you've ever seen any of this director's other work, this is let me see, it's a Jamari Hollander. This guy is awesome. He also did Rare Exports. He did a movie called Big Game. He's got a really, really stacked background of very interesting, very out there, kind of wacky, gory movies. And SISU certainly is no slouch when it comes to the gore. A couple of things that kind of put this film on this list for me that needed to be included here were just the opening sequence where we actually have the first face-off between our character here, our miner, and the German soldiers. I mean, it's pretty classic stuff. They're picking on him. They're messing with his dog. Yes, there is a dog in this. And they're picking on him. They're basically rooting through his stuff, just being horrible, Nazi German soldier. Where things take off, though, is as this tension builds and as kind of the score starts to almost build this tension, you just know that the wire's getting closer and closer to snapping. These guys are just rooting through, they're being dicks, and then he just snaps, and he takes his big old hunting knife and jams it right through the side of this German soldier's head. And then he goes absolutely ballistic on them. I mean, this is the first real shot of action and gore and violence that we get to see in the film, and it delivers. It's really shocking. It's really in your face. You just really get to see how this guy, he doesn't always have access to guns. He has some in the movie, but he's pretty dangerous no matter really what you put in his hands. I then got to follow it up with the river sequence. This is by far my favorite sequence in this film. Our character, our miner, he gets chased into a river, and the German soldiers are all lined up, and they start sending people out on this boat, basically to go and get him and shoot him when he has to come up for air. Well, this guy, he's a madman, of course. You don't stop the miner here. He ends up yanking, I believe, one of the German soldiers off the boat, and he gets up behind him, and he ends up slashing the guy's throat and then sucking the air from his windpipe. I'm dead serious, guys. It's horrific. It's creative, it's brutal as hell, and it's just a very, very memorable sequence through and through. I mean, the whole scene I won't spoil for you, but it goes really nuts. Now, the other thing I wanted to highlight in this part when I talk about SISU is that this time around, I really focused up on the score. There's kind of this melodic, kind of Nordic hum that's going on throughout a lot of the score, and you really hear it throughout most of the film. I mean, this takes place in Finland, and we are basically watching most of the Finland countryside where these Germans are basically getting from point A to point B. It looks like a wasteland at times. You could totally see this movie being like ripped out and thrown into like a post-apocalyptic Fallout-esque universe, and I kind of love it for that. And, you know, this movie, just like most of this director's stuff, it does get a little zany by the end. I won't spoil what happens, but it gets a little crazy, a little bit more movie-like, a little fantastical. But I think by the time we get there, we've seen so much raw brutality and darkness that it totally earns it. And I think that it just makes the film more rewatchable. It kind of strikes that balance between being kind of cheeky fun and playing with this concept all the way, and still being able to hit you in the chest and just say, look, we get down to some brutal, bloody business in SISU. And coming in at my number 4 spot, we have 2008's RAMBO. John Rambo joins a group of mercenaries to venture into war-torn Burma and rescue a group of Christian aid workers who were kidnapped by the ruthless local infantry unit. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what the general consensus is on 2008's RAMBO, but this movie, man, is truly one of the goriest and most brutal films I have ever seen, and I put that up there with Terrifier and all kinds of stuff. Yes, Art the Clown gets very detailed, but John Rambo, in this movie alone, he puts up some numbers, guys. 466 confirmed kills, so IMDb tells me. But yeah, this movie is crazy. I do love it. But to say that would honestly be undercutting some of what I actually find to be very cathartic and honestly a very great way to wrap up the character of John Rambo. But even beyond that, I still think this movie does a fair enough job of setting up kind of a fresh way for someone new to the franchise to come in and watch this without needing to have seen all of the other films. They basically get, you know, the gist of it outright. I do think that you should watch the other Rambo films before this, just to kind of, you know, have that natural progression. But I understand if maybe you are one of these people who just hates older movies. I don't know how to help you, but you got this one, and it's gory as hell. I mean, I could go through this entire film and tell you every which way that somebody gets dismembered, blown apart, shot. In this film, all I can say is that you see pretty much everything. We watch people's legs get completely just annihilated off their bodies. We see people getting their heads blown off by sniper rifles. I mean, there's even one sequence towards the beginning of this movie within the first 10 minutes, which is just awful. We see our kind of head bad guy, the leader of this unit. He kind of throws some, I guess you'd call them innocent civilians, out into a rice paddy field, and he throws a bunch of landmines out there and makes them run through it. And you see somebody get blown up, and it's a hell of a way to start the movie. It's certainly, it gets the picture across pretty quickly that we are not dealing with your granddad's John Rambo. And, you know, I kind of love that, because this is Sylvester Stallone behind the camera here and in front of the camera, obviously. So this is his baby. This is kind of his, you know, upgrade of Rambo. So it doesn't feel forced. Nothing feels like grossly out of place here. It does feel very natural that somebody who's been through so many conflicts and has suffered so much PTSD would eventually wind up here. So moving on from that, I gotta go into a couple of my favorite, like, kill moments, or I guess the most brutal scenes, and those, I mean, I got a handful of them here, so I'll just run through those quickly so I can talk about all of them. But the first sequence when John is kind of stopped by these pirates on the river when he's taking these, Christians to this village. He has to make a choice. You see the guilt in John Rambo's face slightly when he realizes that he's not going to get out of this situation without spilling some blood. And I absolutely love it. I think that it's also cut very well. So, I think Sylvester Stallone definitely has a cinematic eye. It doesn't always pop through everything, but the dude absolutely aced it here, because as they're cutting from John Rambo to, his passengers to these pirates, each cut is getting faster and faster, really racking up that tension until he has to make a quick decision. And boy, howdy, it's quick. He dispatches them, but it's bloody. And it's one of my favorite moments. Again, I have to really tip my hat off to the finale, though. This finale is absolute clown shoes. I mean, there is so much blood and gore in this, so much violence and vigor. I don't know how I'm going to cut around a lot of this for the video. John Rambo really just unleashes on a 50 caliber machine gun, and it's just watching people just get ripped to pieces with bullets. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. And these people, this unit, these awful men have really worked their way up the ladder of just terribleness. So I can't help but smile watching all of this go down, because it's such sweet revenge for all the awful things we've seen them do to the local population throughout this film. And it's just certainly one of the goriest films around. I have to say it. It's got to be one of the goriest, one of the most violent movies. But again, has some heart to it. There's definitely a lot here. That ending to this movie, if you are a Rambo fan, it's perfect. I will lightly defend parts of Last Blood for being fun. That's the one after this. But to me, this is where the Rambo series ends and should probably stay ended, because it's perfect. It's very poetic. It's nice. And we get to see him go out in rare form. And taking my number 3 spot, we have 2018's The Night Comes for Us. Ito, a gangland enforcer, is caught amidst a treacherous and violent insurrection within his triad crime family upon his return home from a stint abroad. Netflix has become pretty synonymous for making what I'd say is a great show every once in a while and a ton of really subpar movies. This is not one of those. Yes, this is a Netflix acquired film. It is awesome. It wouldn't be on this list if it wasn't. But this is certainly a film that I think is a really, really nice addition to kind of the Raid Redemption universe with the Raid and the Raid 2. Now, this is not at all set in the same universe or timeline, but they have very similar styles, except I would say that The Night Comes for Us, the director here, Timo Tayhantos, I believe is how you say that, or Tayahanto. Forgive me, I'm sorry. Point being, I think that this guy absolutely turns up the violence aspect to it. There's a lot of blood in the Raid and the Raid 2, but this certainly gets a little bit bloodier. To some degree, I think that that's brutal, but I still think some of the stuff in, the Raid movies is kind of, I don't know, it's just got this different edge to it. It's like kind of looking at two sides of the same coin here. There's just different scuffs, different tatters to each side. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. But overall, this movie in and of itself is a journey. It's a long one. It's just a little over 2 hours, but it really takes you through the dark, seedy underbelly of this kind of triad crime family. And I could not get enough of the fights in this movie. They are off the chain. Getting into some of the reasons why I feel like it absolutely needs to be included on a brutal action film list like this is there's a sequence with Iko Uwais, who's one of my favorite martial artist actors. He's fantastic, but he goes into, I'll kind of keep it vague for spoilers, he goes into a nightclub, and he's got some business he's got to attend to, and whilst trying to attend to this business, he ends up, getting into a bit of a scuffle. And that scuffle to me is so unique because it's very slow. It doesn't feel nearly as fast as some of the other films you'd expect in this kind of subgenre. It's not like a John Wick thing. It's very much just, I'm going to take your arm, I'm going to break it, and then I'm going to twist it, and I'm going to throw you on the ground. He does that like 5 times, dude. It's insane. It's absolute insanity to me. And it's not like quick. It's very much just like, I'm just going to take my time and hurt you, and it's very different. It hits differently. It makes Iko Uwais look damn right demonic in this film when he does it. But it's the conclusion of that scene that's the absolute kicker. He takes a broken bottle, he slams it into the guy he's meeting's face, and face meet table. There you go. It's something. It's quite an interesting kill. They get really creative in these films, seriously. And really, if I had to pick out another standout moment, it's the entire third act of this movie. Once all the puzzle pieces to this crime, thriller kind of hit where they need to hit, and we're locked in and we're going towards our final objective, it's insane. I know I've been saying that a lot, but it is one of those things where you're watching two men legitimately rip each other apart. Now, they're not using weaponry, they're not using guns, they are just using hands and whatever they have around them, which I guess it's weaponry, sorry. But, it's the point of they are mano y mano. They are going for it, and it's pretty jaw-dropping, I have to say. It goes on for quite some time, and you are just sucked into it. You're watching these guys go back and forth, and really, every time you think that this thing is going to end, they just keep going, and it's nuts. I really do love and appreciate this film a lot. I still need to see The Shadow Strays. I've kind of just been saving it. Maybe I'll watch that after this one. But yeah, dude, this is a movie that I really, really love getting to talk about, and it's kind of a world that I hope I can talk about more in the future. You know what I hate more than anything? Spam callers. Seriously, I don't know what I did to myself a few years ago, but I got looped into a terrible system where I was constantly getting back-to-back phone calls with nobody on the other end of the line, or someone trying to reach me about my car's extended warranty, blah, 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 same old story. That's when I decided to take the power back and get my data off the internet once and for all. And I couldn't think of anybody better to turn to than our friends and today's sponsor, Incogni. You see, how this works is that Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests that they remove your personal data and handle any of their objections. And the whole process is automated. So do yourself a favor and use the link below to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan when you go to incogni.com/splattercast. Huge thank you again to the folks over at Incogni for sponsoring this video, as well as extending that discount. They are keeping us safe on the back end so we can keep bringing you guys content like we are right now. And coming in at my number 2 pick, we have 2017's Brawl in Cell Block 99. A former boxer turned drug runner lands in a prison battleground after a deal gets deadly. Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a movie I have been looking desperately for an excuse to discuss, because yes, this is not necessarily horror, but the director is no stranger to horror. Yes, this is from S. Craig Zoller, who brought us Bone Tomahawk. Those of you who have been on the channel for any length of time or have seen my very first brutal horror movies list, you will know that that was my number 1 pick on there. So I'm a big Zoller fan. I like all 3 of his movies. I have not read any of his books yet, but I plan on it. And Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a slow burn. This, I know some of you said that with Bone Tomahawk. That one I don't feel it as much as this, but I promise you, once we start moving, once this puppy gets on the track and we realize what the, I guess, basic plot of the film is going to be, we get some brutal kills in this and fights, and it's completely different from anything else we've talked about on this list. We have had the muscle-bound action stars, we have had the war film, and we've also had just a taste of some martial arts. This, I don't think that Vince Vaughn's character Bradley necessarily knows how to fight. I think he just knows how to kill, and that's kind of the best way I can describe his prowess in this.
Loca en la cabeza.
That's right, I'm loco. Now get the fuck out of my crazy way.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn gives a hell of a performance, and he's very memorable. He's unlike anything you've seen him do before. I know at this time he was doing like True Detective and really trying to kind of get in that space a little bit more. But Brawl in Cell Block 99 has this almost the 70s kind of Death Wish style grindhouse angst to it that I have just become obsessed with. It really does feel like this could be like a Grand Theft Auto story at some point down the road, or like a side mission entirely. This movie, it has all these different elements that just make it work for me. And again, it takes probably a good hour of this film of just character and building and scenarios and things. There's a little bit of action, but it's not the kind you're thinking of. But it takes a good hour before we get to any of the real brutal shit. And then it takes probably another 20 minutes, and then there's more, and then after that it just keeps coming, and it's insanity. Now, if there's any couple of scenes I can highlight to really cement why this film was on this list, I have to go with the first guard fight in the first prison. Vince Vaughn's Bradley Thomas, he understands that he needs to go deeper. He needs to get in more trouble if he's going to wind up getting transferred to a Supermax prison that is notoriously deadly. So he starts fighting the guards, and the fight, again, it's slow. It's not very, well choreographed. It's more just, I need to restrict myself from murdering this man. Did I need to cause him as much pain as possible so that way I can hopefully get transferred? And he does that, and it's brutal. We see an arm snap that is just, oh my god. And then you think it's over, but no, Bradley continues to go at it in the the stairwell. And again, it's not necessarily the most impressive fighting stuff, but the hits just feel like, they're breaking bones, they're squirting blood. It really does feel savage. But it's nothing compared to the standout sequence, in my opinion. There is a kill in this movie where Bradley is towards the end of the film, and he's fighting somebody, and he ends up knocking them to the ground and then stepping on the back of their head. And he doesn't just crush it. He does a little crush and drag motion. The effects in this scene are gut-wrenching.
Do what I say or I'll kill him.
Oh, fuck.
Very, very much sending a little shiver up your spine if you have any kind of interest in body horror or anything like that, because it's messed up. But that being said, I totally love it. See, I just think from, scene one here, Brawl in Cell Block 99 is really just a well-rounded piece of work. I think that, this is very much like a novel brought to the screen. It takes its time. It does not care if you think it's slow. It does not care if you think that it's over the top with its violence. It is simply just here to tell you the story of Bradley Thomas and what he will do for his family is all I'll say. And it's insane. It's awesome. It's great. Again, it's got these kind of like Death Wish vibes, very 70s, even in the style of some of the effects and things they put in this. It's very much S. Craig Zoller, as I've known to learn or I guess take him in over the last few films. And I think that this is definitely it's a toss-up between his three films, but this one is always slotting itself in as either just above or right by Bone Tomahawk for me. And here we are, folks. Yes, we've made it to my number one pick for the most brutal, the most bloody, the most slam bam, absolutely holy crap ma'am looking action film, whatever I end up titling this list, that I could come up with. The one that tops them all. And I'm cheating. I'm sorry. It's 5 picks, but I'm doing both The Raid Redemption, which is the first, and the second, The Raid 2. I can't help myself, guys. I watch these movies synonymously. Every time I watch one of them, I have to watch the other. This is a story that I just absolutely love. Now, I have to admit that part 2 does a lot of that legwork, but I think that, you need the first one. The first one, it's underrated to me because, it's from 2011. It's this little independent action film, and, it really did get word of mouth spreading about it over the internet that back then, and people were just able to pick it up at like Redbox and all these rental stores, and it really got a name for itself. And it was really what put it over the edge enough to give, Gareth Evans, the director of this, more money to do his sequel the way he really wanted to do it. And when we discuss that, you'll see what I mean, because he does a lot more experimentation in that one. But let's kick things off here with The Raid Redemption from 2011. A SWAT team becomes trapped in a tenement run by a ruthless mobster and his army of killers and thugs. So diving into this first film, again, it is an independent project, so it's a little rough around the edges, I would say, especially as this film has been transferred to higher resolution. You can see a little bit more of, kind of the lines around the edges of the flashes, the muzzle flashes, the blood, all of that. I digress, though. There's enough mix of practical effects blood and CGI blood to really kind of sell a lot of this, in my opinion. But really where this film shines is just the dynamic camera work, and, I really love how raw and unfiltered the fights are in this. It doesn't feel like anybody's really trying to show off when they're fighting in this. It really feels like they are very skilled, some of them more skilled than others, but for the most part, they are fighting for their lives. And that goes with the enemies and our SWAT officers here. Because, yeah, it's basically just this SWAT team going from level to level, trying to get to this mob boss at the top, and they just keep running into obstacle after obstacle, whether it's waves of guys or just a couple of guys with a lot of weird weapons, and it really is just something to watch them get whittled down. And we watch as Iko Uwais, who we find out has a little bit of a tie to the mob, thing going on here. I won't spoil anything of that if you haven't seen the movie. And he just has to, he has to basically get through this, try to survive, and get his mission complete. And it's harrowing. I love it. A couple of standout scenes for me in this first one have got to be the hallway fight. It's so unrelentingly brutal. You heard a lot of people say that the Daredevil hallway fight scene was inspired by this. I totally believe it, because they really use and make the most of that hallway. There is not a wasted shot in there. They really rip it up, and it's just multiple different fights. Yeah, all in all, this is a movie that is a stepping stone into what the sequel would become, and for that, I think that it definitely earns it. It set itself apart in a time that is pre-John Wick, that is pre-Gun Fu and everything being really popular again. So I think that this film certainly is important and deserves a spot as one of, if not my favorite action film of all time. But I wasn't kidding when I said that the second film has a lot of legwork to do for that. Only a short time after the first raid, Rama goes undercover with the thugs of Jakarta and plans to bring down a syndicate and uncover the corruption within his police force. So yes, the Raid 2 stepped things up in a big way. We can tell just from that description that there's a lot more going on here story-wise than there was even in the first movie. And that is no shade to the first film. Again, I think it's a lot of fun and has some great action, but it is very simple, and it had to be. It didn't have the budget to go to all the places and explore the underbelly of kind of this, this mafia world that we get into and the corruption in the police force, because this movie goes deep. Rama, he goes into deep cover. We see him in an extended sequence after the very brutal opening where he is basically told that he's going to go to prison. He's got to befriend this son of a mob boss, and he's got to do everything he can to get roped in with that family. So he does, and it has some awesome sequences there. But the movie really starts going at about the 40-minute mark when Rama gets out of prison and he is now working with the mob boss's son. And man, oh man, the places we go in this movie are just wild and out there. I can't believe somebody of his level, when I'm talking about Gareth Evans, had the cojones really to shoot some of the scenes that he shot here. Like, there's some wonderful behind the scenes stuff on YouTube here talking about the making of the Raid 2, because there's moments where there's people fighting in and out of cars and they're passing cameras back and forth, and it's nuts, dude. It's absolute insanity. Anyway, the reason I need to qualify this film beyond what we've stated is this thing is chock full of epic fight moments that are just super brutal, super in your face, and again, just beautifully shot. The big standouts for me have to be the jail yard fight scene with Rama in the beginning portion of this film. It's muddy, it's bloody, it's brutal, it's everything you want from kind of this, I guess, ode to like a lot of these older 70s kind of action fight films. And it's really, really awesome. It really does cement the hard work that Rama has to put himself through just to get accepted by this mafioso family. It doesn't feel like he's doing this very easily by any stretch of the imagination, especially because a lot of these prisoners, they look at him as a cop and, somebody who's gotten them in here. So it's dangerous. And really, I think where we wind up with the next best one, and probably what I think is the antithesis of Gareth Evans' kind of work up to this point, is the kitchen fight scene between Rama and our main bad guy here. It's, oh my god, it's very bloody. It's all white. The kitchen is completely, like, spotless, and we watch these people spot it up. But it truly seems like Rama has met a true match in this one, and he gets out just barely alive, and it's emotional, it's rough, it's gross, and you feel every punch and every slice, and I think that that's just one of the most compelling fight scenes in any film I've ever seen. So yeah, I know I cheated here by including 2 movies, but forgive me, and if you don't, well, it's my video, so I'm sorry. But yeah, this is awesome. I love both of these movies. I am so happy that I finally got to sit down and give myself a reason to recommend them. I hope that if you've never seen them, that I've enticed you enough to check them out. And yeah, The Raid and The Raid 2, they are just some of, if not the greatest action, brutal fight films of the modern era. I put them above all the John Wick movies, which I would have considered for this list, but everybody always expects those. So I had to start off at least with some unknowns and some classics. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the end of my list there. Yeah, I know, I was sneaky. I had a little extra pick, and that's a little something special for you. Don't go spending it all in one place, What am I doing? Just goofing around, just being goofy. But hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys giving this a chance. And if you made it this far, you are seriously the best. I love you. Thank you for watching. I hope that we can do more lists like this and maybe explore some other kind of rougher, grimmer genres that there are. Because yes, again, just like there's bloodier movies outside of horror, there are also scarier, more disturbing movies outside of horror. For those of you who've kind of seen those Never Watch Again lists, you kind of get that. But yeah, I'm hoping this does well. I'd love to follow up with it. If not, hey, it's an experiment. We're doing it. So again, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. We hope we've earned it. And if you're watching and you haven't done it already, again, hit that like button. Help boost us up in the algorithms so that we don't get buried. And yeah, that's everything I got to say on this list. We're going to be pumping out more lists and, of course, a little bit of a diversity to the content. We're going to have some fun stuff, some different things that we haven't gotten to do before, and now we can. So without further ado, that's all I have for you. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.